Friends and family of the slain officers are mostly huddled behind closed doors tonight as they no doubt struggle during this difficult time. But their loss is also affecting their neighbors and communities. KTVU's Maureen Naylor is in Concord with a live report. Maureen?
Ken, the devastation from Saturday's violence stretches far beyond Oakland. Tonight, 4 families are mourning, along with 4 different Northern California communities where the officers lived. In Castro Valley, a bitter wind blew through the flags neighbors lowered to half-staff to honor the fallen officers.
We just want to show our support for them, do what we can. Breaks your heart? It breaks our heart, all of us, my kids, all of us are just devastated.
On this street lived 35-year-old Sergeant Dan Sakai. The 9-year veteran SWAT team member leaves behind a wife and a young daughter.
They are just a wonderful couple. They have a beautiful girl. She's going to be 4 years old next month.
My son is a policeman also. So I don't know what he's going to be doing.
The news was too much for Steve Varga, who lives across the street from Sakai and used to watch after his police dog when he was in the K-9 unit.
So sorry for him. He was a good neighbor. He was a good cop. He don't deserve to die like that.
In Danville, police and family gathered in the neighborhood where 43-year-old Sergeant Irv Romans and his wife lived. The SWAT team member was a 13-year veteran of the Oakland Police Department, seen in this video from last year.
We had heard about the officers and that one was still alive, and we were praying for him, and it never entered our mind that it was our neighbor who lives right across the street from us.
In Concord, neighbors left flowers on the doorstep of traffic officer John Hagee's home. The Eagle Scout and St. Mary's College graduate had recently remodeled it.
I says, "You've done a beautiful job here." He says, "Well, I'm just gonna live here forever," and he was proud of his home and everything. And
the 41-year-old was a high school PE teacher and coach in Hayward before joining Oakland Police a decade ago. Neighbors say he loved working nights.
It's just a terrible shock to the neighborhood and to me that he is so young. And I prayed for him in church, and I will continue to pray.
It saddens me. I mean, he was moving up. He enjoyed his job. He really, I don't know. It just seems like a waste, a real tragedy.
Also killed was 40-year-old Sergeant Mark Dunnikin, who lived in Tracy. The traffic officer, an 18-year Oakland police veteran seen in video from August, leaves behind a wife and 3 children. Reporting live in Concord, Maureen Naylor, KTVU Channel 2 News.
Combined with the grief and anguish lies many questions. Right now, OPD is taking a closer look at every aspect of those shootings, from the suspect to police procedures. KTVU's David Stevenson joins us now with more on the investigation. He's live in Oakland. David?
Well, the flag remains at half-staff here at Oakland Police Department headquarters. Inside, Oakland police are going about their business, even continuing the investigation into the shooting yesterday. 24 hours after a scene of chaos and bloodshed at this East Oakland apartment building, police stood guard today, screening residents before allowing them in or out of the building. This is where Oakland police say 27-year-old Lavelle Mixon shot 2 SWAT police officers before being shot to death by police. Sources tell Channel 2 a confidential informant tipped off police that Mixon was in the building. That source says police tried to communicate with Mixon before storming an apartment here, and that Mixon fired an automatic weapon through a wall.
We're not commenting on the type, but there are 2 weapons, 2 firearms. The second one was an assault weapon.
Investigators say they'll try to track those weapons to learn how they fell into the hands of a paroled felon.
He was on parole, and he had a warrant out for his arrest for violating that parole. And he was on parole for assault with a deadly weapon.
Mixon's relatives today spoke out in his defense, telling the San Francisco Chronicle they did not know what might have led to yesterday's violence. One cousin told the Associated Press that he was, quote, not a monster, and offered her sympathies to the families of the slain police officers.
It's occurred to me, shooting in a closet, shooting at police he knew were outside, that's something that we call suicide by cop. He had to know they would return fire and that he probably would die.
Retired FBI criminal profiler Candace DeLong says investigators will carefully examine the traffic stop on MacArthur Boulevard in which Mixon allegedly shot 2 other Oakland police officers. Sources tell Channel 2 Mixon did not appear to be a third-strike felon eligible for an extended prison sentence.
When he was pulled over, he knew there was a warrant out for him. They may not have known. and he simply got out of the car with his gun in his hand and started shooting. They never had a chance.
It's almost like that they had like in Columbine. This is an active shooter. You have to take very immediate and sure action.
Alameda County Sheriff's Department spokesman Sergeant J.D. Nelson says training exercises such as Operation Urban Shield are supposed to prepare law enforcement officers for scenarios such as yesterday's violent showdown.
It is training that happens, and unfortunately, just a real tragedy yesterday.
Police say a fifth officer whose head was grazed by a bullet in the shootout at the apartment building in East Oakland was actually more seriously wounded than previously thought. They say that he was also shot through the shoulder, but he is recovering nicely at home. Reporting live in Oakland, David Stevenson, KTVU, Channel 2 News.
We have complete coverage of the Oakland police shootings on our website, ktvu.com. Just click on the Bay Area News tab at the top. We'll also have another update on the shootings a little later in the newscast.